Hello, everybody. Welcome to the PolitiCA Show. I am your host, Adam Williams, and this is episode 1 of our pseudo-political podcast. We're going to be talking about politics and social issues and trying to do our best to separate the two. So for today, I'm just going to, basically, it's going to be an introduction video. Nothing too crazy. Do believe my lighting's a little bit harsh. Okay, there we go. Zebras are gone. Thank God for those zebras, man. I tell you. So yeah, basically this concept started originally just almost as a need for myself to spark a conversation with whoever I can. I've been on a bit of a discovery journey of trying to unfold what's essentially a big political and social origami that we live in today. Being on social media, we're bombarded with memes and information, mostly misinformation. It's really hard to determine what's what. And so it's been a crash course in navigating through almost extreme ideas to try to find some reasonable mid-ground, some neutral ground. So a little bit of backstory about myself. So I'm pro-choice. I'm not opposed to gay marriage or equal rights at all. I considered myself a feminist. I mean, essentially all of the social attributes of liberalism I more or less was in tune with. My political ideology was something that I had sort of established on my own, independently, just as a thinker, as a philosopher. And I'd created a post on my blog many years ago where I detailed my ideal politics. And once I started to actually learn about politics, it started to become pretty clear to me that the actual political sphere and the social sphere were really quite divided. And so I had to look at politics not through the veil of what social ramifications each party purported to present, but by the basic structure of the political system. Where does the tax money go? Who makes decisions? Who has authority over what regions and what, local authority or regional or state or provincial or federal, and try to compare it to what I'd already established. Of course, through this process, I have friends that are conservative Canadians, liberal Canadians, but then I've also got friends that are Democrat Americans and Republican Americans, and there was a lot of conflicting issues. So again, it really just came down to let's read about it, let's find out exactly what it is we're dealing with, and try to navigate that way, rather than what people on Facebook are saying or Twitter or whatever like that. So what was revealed to me that was the most interesting was that things just aren't as they seem, which is, I mean, it's really a principle that you could probably consider in most walks of our intellectual or emotional perception, that things just aren't as they seem. But once I started to wrap my head around it, I started realizing that I was essentially like a poster child. I mean, I consider myself to be, I'm not a dummy in the scale of life, but I'm certainly uneducated. I'm unqualified. I'm just a regular guy, right? And I think most people that are just regular people are having the most difficult time trying to navigate the rocky shores and there's really not a lot of lighthouses. So I mean, I can't really propose to be a lighthouse, but this has been a journey of discovery, and I'm still on the path of discovery. So what I'd like to do is I would like to share this path of discovery and to just sort of start to look at issues together, right? You're more than welcome. In fact, I'd encourage it. Use the comments section. I will be reading all the comments and going through and getting feedback from people. But what I'd like to do is I'd like to form whatever kind of a discussion. I mean, it's obviously going to be one way while the camera's on and the mic's in front of me, but using the comments, using whatever back and forth dialogue is even possible, I would like to learn more about what it is I'm exploring. You know, just basically look at the information that we're being fed, that we're actually, for the most part, feeding each other. And weighing it for its usefulness and its validity. You know, a lot of things are done in humor and in jest, and humor and jest is incredibly useful. It's very valid to have a sense of humor and to take things comedically, but quite often it perpetuates myths. It perpetuates narratives that are not actually helpful narratives. But again, it's hard to necessarily, unless you've got the time to look things up, which obviously most people don't, becomes a big wash of confusion. We're going to be going over issues that arise as they arise. So if something comes up, we can go over it. You know, like at the moment, we've got the Virginia abortion bill drama. It's for the most part passing at this point, but that's been something that people have been talking about. Again, with extremes on both ends. I think probably the more liberal extreme is a little bit more palatable as far as just let people do what they need to do. But I think there's also, in that case, again, a lot of overlooking of what the real issue is. I see a lot of people bringing up social conservative anti-abortion, as they say, pro-life, but anti-abortion ideology. And as much as that exists, there are other elements that have to be considered. Namely, not everybody is anti-abortion. So if they're not anti-abortion, like I'm not, I'm pro-choice, but I'm not like pro any legislation people put out. So when legislation's coming out, the most reasonable thing in my mind is to look at it and see what it's actually saying. The vaccination issue right now in the Pacific Northwest is also a hot topic. There's been multiple new cases, both in the Vancouver area here as well as in Washington State and in Oregon, of the measles. Boom, again, another clash of the extremes. One side saying just take every vaccine that comes up, no matter what it is. Runny nose vaccine's probably best for you. And then there's the anti-vaxxers who are saying that it's going to cause irreparable damage and baka. Right? Anybody can look it up themselves insofar as the statistics, but nobody seems to. Rather than looking it up ourselves, we want to have a baseless Facebook dialogue, make fun of anti-vaxxers, while anti-vaxxers claim that everybody's drinking the Kool-Aid of corporations and nothing's ever settled. Are vaccines safe? Sure. I mean, I'm not anti-vax, I'm pro-vax. But what are the dangers? Are there dangers? Of course there's dangers. Is there a chance of acquiring encephalitis from a vaccine? Yeah, there is. Is it as high as the odds of contracting encephalitis? Sorry about that. Without the vaccine? No. Without the vaccine, the odds are 1 in 1,000. With the vaccine, the odds are 1 in 3 million. So it's much better odds. Again, this is a path of discovery. I'm not here to tell people the way it is. I'm here to discover it. And if you can help me, then that's great. So why don't you leave a comment, join the conversation. It's been great, and I hope you join us again. I'm Adam Williams, and this is the PolitiCA Show. Cheers.